In the second part of the lecture, I would like to talk about the psychophysical measurement methods for sound quality evaluation. In the first part, we noticed that for the product sound quality, also for room acoustics, it is very important to evaluate the sounds. Therefore, we need some evaluation experiments. We would like to make measurements with human. And therefore, in that part, now I would like to talk about how can we measure evaluation of the people, how can we conduct some listening experiments. In that case, first of all, very important issue is the scale. For all measurements, physical or psychoacoustical, always we need, first of all, scale, and scale is also relevant for statistics. It means that analysis of the results is also dependent on this scale. And in that case, we have 4 different kind of scales. First of all, nominal scale. In that case, we try to categorize the subjects depending on their name or their category. In that case, we know only the identity of the aspects or sounds. In the ordinal case, we know the rank order between them. In the interval case, we know the distances between them. And in the ratio scale, we know also ratio between them. And at the same time, we have absolute zero. Of course, there are different kind of psychophysical methods to apply for such kind of evaluation experiments. And in that case, because of the limited time, I have selected 4 important ones: pair comparison, magnitude estimation, category scaling, and semantic differential. I would like to start with pair comparison. In that case, actually very simple way, we use always comparison of pair of sounds. For example, first of all, we present sound A, and after that, we present sound B. And the subjects should compare these both sounds and at the end say that which one is much more pleasant, which one is much more loud. And at the end, of course, we get rank order. We know that which one is much more pleasant and which one is much more louder. And therefore, we have ordinal scale. Of course, for subjects, it is very intuitive methodology, but at the same time, it is very time-consuming because depending on the number of sounds, we have a lot of comparisons, as you can see in the slide. Therefore, it causes some time to conduct such kind of experiment. Another possibility to conduct an evaluation experiment or another methodology is the magnitude estimation. We can conduct such kind of magnitude estimation investigation using an ANCA stimulus or without. And in that case, again, for example, if we conduct magnitude estimation investigation with ANCA stimulus, we present first of all ANCA stimulus, sound A, and then test stimulus, sound B. And we assign a number, for example, 110 or other numbers for ANCA stimulus, and the participant should decide if he or she perceives sound B 2 times or 4 times louder, depending on the perception. He should say after that, for example, if he or she perceives 2 times louder, 200, or 4 times louder, 400. It is always a ratio. Of course, in that case, the choice of ANCA stimulus is very important. Therefore, you should decide which stimulus will be used for ANCA. The third possibility to conduct such kind of experiments is a methodology, category scaling. In that case, we hear a sound and we should give a number like a school note. For example, in that case, in this slide, we see that from 1 to 7, You can also use from 1 to 5 or from 1 to 10. And you can use some bipolar verbal descriptions, for example, in that case, soft and loud. And the subject should hear this sound and say that, okay, it is very loud, in that case. Extremely loud, for example, 7, or moderately loud, 4, and so on. Of course, as you can notice that, similar to the school notes, we don't know the distance between the notes. It means that the distance between 1 and 2 is not similar 2 to 3. Therefore, we have non-equidistances. In that case, we have an ordinal scale. If we want to have interval scale, in that case, we need equidistant distances. And for that aim, different researchers have conducted investigations. One of them is German researcher Rohrmann, and he tried to find that, for example, which we see in the slide, the verbal descriptions which are equidistant. And of course, if the participant using slider can give a quasi-continuous responses, then you can have an interval scale. In that case, we have equidistant verbal descriptions, not at all, slightly, moderately, very, and extremely. Also, there are other examples, for example, Borg scale, and so on. The last example is the semantic differential. As I already said that quality or annoyance are multidimensional, actually, properties or perceptual aspects, and therefore, we would like to describe the room of quality, the room of annoyance, and therefore we need descriptions for it, verbal descriptors. And everything comes from the semantics, the meanings. Therefore, very important point for this investigation, first of all, to find which verbal descriptors are quite good to describe these sounds. And at the end, you can use bipolar pairs or only one verbal descriptor. At the same time, you can decide yourself which rating scale you will apply. For example, in this example, I took a category scale from 1 to 7, but you can also use equidistant scale. At the end, of course, you have a lot of different verbal descriptors for this sound, and the subjects, participants should hear the sound and then evaluate them using these scales. At the end, we get some results with this slide. And we see, or we can compare different sounds. For example, in that case, we have two different vehicle sounds, and we can compare them on different aspects, on different verbal descriptors, from booming or annoyance or powerfulness. They are very helpful to understand the differences between the sounds.